Good morning, everyone. My name is Hunter LeClair. I'm with Bay Aging. So just to shift gears a little bit here, we've heard a lot of great presentations about what is happening on the coastline, what is impacting our community. And a lot of you may be familiar with Bay Aging. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are headquartered in Urbana, but we primarily serve the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck. Some of our services are expanding beyond that service area, and then some even go statewide and through multiple states. So here we show Bay Health, Bay Housing, and Bay Transit. It is primarily how we kind of differentiate our very diverse menu of services, and I'm just going to show you a little bit today about what we have to offer to serve the vulnerable populations in our community. So Bay Aging, we've been in existence for nearly 45 years now. We are a community action agency. So that provides funds where we can help support low-income families and low-income households through a variety of initiatives. We are an area agency on aging, which is how Bay Aging began, what gave us our traditional name, although we are serving other populations beyond just older adults now. We are serving people with disabilities, low-income households, and generally the community at large through services like Bay Transit. But our primary goal is to provide a choice and a range of services that help people remain in their chosen home. So this is having a lot of different programs and services available so that people can talk with trained options counselors to determine what they may need to reach their independence goals. So we want to keep people from entering any type of institution. Typically, this looks like assisted living, nursing homes, things like that. So we want people to be in their own homes and living with dignity in their community and contributing to the productivity of our region. So getting into those three divisions, some of our health services, a lot of these are traditional area agency on aging services. So things like Meals on Wheels for folks that are homebound and isolated that can't either cook for themselves or make it out to the grocery store. We have a vast team of volunteers that are delivering hot meals to folks so that they can have the nutrition that they need. We have senior centers that provide an opportunity for folks to get together and congregate and get meals and receive education and just kind of have that socialization that we all need. And sometimes it's difficult for our more isolated neighbors. We do care coordination. We work with insurance companies so that people can reduce readmissions into the hospital when someone is released from the hospital. We work with them on a plan to make sure that they feel safe in their own home and so that we can prevent them from being readmitted into the hospital. And then a variety of other programs here. You see the list. Sometimes we have even more than this depending on grants. But just to kind of highlight some of the buckets, we do insurance counseling. So we work with folks to ensure that they are not overly insured and having additional cost to their monthly budget, but to determine what plan may be right for them so that they can ensure their health goals are met. Fall prevention, we have a focus on dementia-friendly communities and work closely with the Alzheimer's Association. And then a really popular service that I like to highlight because it's pretty unique. We have a veterans-directed home and community-based services program. And here we work with the VA to provide veterans a budget so that they can self-direct their own care, pay their caregivers, pay for things like cutting their lawn, taking them to appointments, so that they have their own budget to support their health needs to prevent them from having to enter into a nursing home. Some additional advocacy and outreach opportunities through our Bay Health. We do advanced care planning to make sure that people's wishes are honored in their later life. We do ombudsman services with our local assisted living facilities to make sure that people are being treated the way that they expect with dignity. And then a variety of other volunteer programs just to make sure that people are engaged and they have meaningful opportunities to contribute to our services and be involved in the community. So kind of my area of interest here is Bay housing, a few different opportunities that we have to support our neighbors in our region. Bay Aging owns and manages 12 different rental housing communities. These are primarily targeted for people, older adults. They are age restricted. However, there is a new interest in workforce housing. So Bay Aging now owns and manages a workforce housing complex in Kilmarnock called Mercer Place. So we know that housing is a critical issue. There is not a lot of multifamily housing apartment complexes that offer lower rents for some of the folks in our community. And so recognizing that and advancing efforts to try to just expand different housing options for various folks in the region. We have been engaged in community development block grants, so rehabbing entire neighborhoods of blight, adding infrastructure. Our single family housing department gets involved in that a lot, supported through the Department of Housing and Community Development. We have a variety of programs that help to try to maintain the aging housing stock that we have, right? So we don't have a lot of apartments that offer lower rents for folks, but we also have an aging housing stock. And so trying to support homeowners through things like emergency home repair, perhaps it's weatherization to try to replace some windows or make your home more energy efficient, adding a wheelchair ramp so that you can stay in your home, things like that. And unfortunately, sometimes there is not enough money there to do all of the programs that folks want. So we have begun offering loans, low interest loans through rural development. So when we can't provide services through grants, we can offer another opportunity. And then we have a variety of programs that offer financial assistance. So like the Housing Choice Voucher program that gives people a subsidy to rent a home, or homeless solutions where we can help people exiting homelessness back into permanent housing through some financial assistance. So I flew through my portion. I'm happy to take any questions, but I'm going to turn it over to Ken Pollock to talk about Bay Transit.
Thanks, Hunter. Quick overview. Bay Transit started in Gloucester County with one bus in 1996. We now have about 45 buses, and we operate in all 10 counties of the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck, as well as New Kent and Charles City. We're also in the towns of Colonial Beach, Kilmarnock, West Point, Tappahannock, and Urbana. As Elizabeth mentioned in my bio, we are in a service area of over 3,000 square miles. It's actually larger than the state of Delaware, so we've got a lot of area to cover. Another thing I always like to stress is that Bay Transit is public transportation for all people for all reasons. It's not just for seniors, as Hunter alluded to. Some of our services expand beyond just seniors, and Bay Transit is one of those. Most of the service we provide is called demand response, which is a rural model for public transportation where people call into our call center 24 to 48 hours in advance to schedule a ride. We get them on the schedule. We call them back and tell them what time we're going to pick them up, and then we provide that ride to them. We are currently operating Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the fares for our rides are $2 per ride. One of our challenges is that it's a large service area, and people often have to travel long distances to get to where there's medical services or employment opportunities. So our average trip is 10 miles per passenger that we carry, and we anticipate going over 1.5 million miles traveled this year. So we cover a lot of miles. The majority of our trip purposes are for health and retail and work, and surprisingly, 40% of all of our rides are work related. And so that most people don't realize that we carry that many people to work. And it's not commuters, it's not choice riders. It's folks who without having Bay Transit, they would not be able to hold their job or maintain their job. So we're very proud of the fact that we're helping people maintain employment. Another service we offer is the fixed route services we have in Gloucester and West Point and Tappahannock. We cover the apartment complexes out on the outskirts of town. We try to get people to all of the medical and business retail opportunities within each of the towns that we serve. The fares for that are $1, and it is much more efficient and convenient for us to operate and for our riders to not have to schedule a ride so far in advance. They can just stand at the bus stop and the bus will come by and pick them up. We have another service that we operate. This one is specific for seniors and people with disabilities. It's called our New Freedom Program. And this is to help folks, seniors and people with disabilities, to access services outside of the Bay Transit service area. We know a lot of people have specialized medical needs that cannot be met at local hospitals, or they're veterans and they need to get to VA hospitals in Hampton and Richmond. So this service allows people to get to services outside of our service area, particularly Hampton, Richmond, and Fredericksburg. It's a very popular program, and because of that, we have to limit it to 2 rides per person per month, because we don't have enough funding to cover all of the rides that we get requested. The impact of public transportation. One of the things that I always like to stress is the economic development piece for public transportation. People ride for a reason. Now, there's obviously a few people that may joyride, but for the most part, they're making and spending money. They're going to a job, they're going to the store, or they're going to a medical appointment. But either way, they're creating economic development within the community. Public transportation offers access to employment and medical services and shopping. And it also helps people maintain their independence. For seniors and people with disabilities and people that cannot drive, that is a real critical piece. I'm sure you all know somebody who has no business driving that you know within your circle of friends. And in our area, people are going to fight tooth and nail to not have to give up those keys, because that is a significant milestone in people's lives, and it changes their independence and their mobility within their community. And it circles back to one of part of Bay Aging's mission, which is to help people maintain independence in the community. Couple of challenges we have. Obviously, the biggest one is that there's not enough service for the demand in the region. A lot of that has to do with public transportation is expensive to operate, and it's a partnership between local government, state government, and federal government to fund transportation. And so we're limited by the funds that are available. Another challenge we have is regionalization, in that oftentimes people live in counties where there's not a lot of employment opportunities, there's not a lot of medical services, and they need to travel across county lines. And we do our best for that, but we have challenges getting people, say, from Tappahannock to Gloucester up and down the 17 corridor. And that is something we would like to be able to do in the future as funds might allow. Finally, I want to tell you a little bit about a new project that we are undertaking, and that is in 2021, we received a grant from the Federal Transit Administration to do a rural microtransit pilot project. Microtransit is a service that's similar to Uber. It's a smartphone app-based service where people use the app to set up a ride, and it picks them up within 10 or 15 minutes of their request. We've done this. We started in Gloucester in July of 21, and we started with a small service zone that is around the courthouse of Gloucester and goes down to the Walmart and some of the retail shopping down there, and up to the counseling center in ARC for the Community Services Board. This has been a very successful service for us, and we are looking forward to expanding this with an additional grant that we received We're expanding our service zone all the way down to Gloucester Point. We will add additional vehicles. And so people from the courthouse to Gloucester Point along 17 will be able to book a ride anytime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. in that service zone, and get to their destinations with a 10 or 15 minute wait time to do that. So this is a brand new service. We're finding it's more economical than even our fixed route service. So our goal will be to expand that into other areas, perhaps Tappahannock or Kilmarnock or West Point as it evolves. So it's a real exciting new project that we're proud to be involved with. Next slide, Hunter. So this is our contact information. If you have any questions, I think Hunter and I will be glad to answer them for you.